I'm Andrew Willett for A Pro Basketball Show. Follow and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, as well as following on social media at APBShow on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to follow me as well at TheACWillett22. Thank you so much for tuning in, and without further ado, hello and welcome to A Pro Basketball Show. I am so excited today to talk about the Atlanta Dream. It's a team I haven't gotten into enough since the preseason, and so I went right back to who was with me in the preseason, and that is the co-host, the host of the Atlanta Dreamin podcast, and I'm just so excited to be welcoming back to the show. That's Joshua Welch, excuse me, at ENFP_hoops. And Amber Thomas at Amby Writes. Both of you, thank you so much for joining the show. How have you been doing?
I'm glad you're catching us on a winning streak now, and we didn't do this when we were feeling a little mopey and stuff. So you're catching us at the right time.
At a great time.
I am happy.
Feeling great.
And for me, I was just talking before the show with you two. I think I told Josh specifically where I had this team fifth heading into the season, so I'm feeling really good about where this Atlanta Dream team is at. And as Josh said as well, just looking forward and upward for this Atlanta Dream team.
Exactly.
As right around 500 throughout the season, maybe a few games below, but right now feeling pretty good. You guys say first, before we get into this Atlanta Dream squad, what have you two been up to?
You can start, Amber.
Working really, really hard. Been cranking out the content. Been on playback, doing games. Yep. Like, it's been a whole lot of fun. We've been cranking out a lot of content, and we've been having fun with it. So yeah, just getting on the grind.
I love it, Josh.
Yeah, I'm with her. So yeah, yeah. We've been doing more, than planned and stuff, but we're obsessed with basketball. So yeah, happy to be in a community that is as obsessed with as us and everything. So
yeah, that is tremendous to hear. I know you guys right now, as we get into it, just below Washington, which I'm a little surprised with how Washington is doing as well, and just above three teams in Chicago, Dallas, and Minnesota at 8 and 9, all tied right there. So it's very contentious in this middle of the pack spot.
It won't be as close after we sweep the sky, but sorry, go ahead.
I love it. bring the confidence. Yes. That's why you bring you two on. But relative to where your expectations were before the season, and we talked about that, how has this team kind of fared against those expectations?
Man, go ahead, Josh.
Up and down. Because especially the beginning, I was expecting a better start with the teams that we faced and everything. But this team is definitely more talented than last year. Like, when we're on, we can beat almost anybody. I don't know about the Aces yet. I got to see our best game against them and stuff. But when we're playing our best, like we beat in the Sun and the Liberty on the road. Sorry at the expense of your Sparks, Amber, but when we play teams that are below us, we've been better at taking care of business than early in the season. Like, it looks like, we're trying to separate ourselves and establish ourselves as like you mentioned, a top 5 team. So I'm very excited how this team is starting to click. We got 30 assists yesterday on 34 field goals. Like, I think that was our best game of the season. Man,
by far.
But yeah,
but yeah, like they're right where I thought they would be. But I feel like we're hitting our stride now more so than we were before. When we first started the season, we had a rough stretch of a lot of contending teams, and it was rough. It was rough to start, but we are finally hitting that little sweet spot. We weathered most of the storm, and we're getting like into the nice little middle of the pack area where we can keep pushing towards the top. And I am very, very, very excited about that. We're trending in the right direction.
All right. Hey, and you got a couple of names at Chicago who I just mentioned right there coming up. So I'm glad you guys are confident. I'm feeling good about this Atlanta team as well. I had high expectations. I thought you bring Alicia Gray with Ryan Howard, and I mean, we're going to talk about Cheyenne Parker, but the season that she has had already to this point has been really, really good. But before it's kind of some of the individuals, we'll talk both offense and defense. This team fifth in offensive rating, ninth in defensive rating, brings them right around middle of the pack for net rating. And so specifically with the offense, and either of you and can run with this one, how have you felt about this team's offense? Who are they running it through the most?
You can start first, Amber.
Well, I haven't been crazy about the offense. I'm not even gonna lie, because the read and react offense has never really worked, in my opinion. But the way that like the last couple of games, it has run a lot better because they're looking for their best two players, which is Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray. They've been playing through them more, and the results have been where we need them to be. If they really lock in on those two, then and they play off each other so well that it's kind of like a pick and poison, you know.
Exactly.
They've really been killing it these last few games. And Cheyenne Parker, listen. Cheyenne Parker has been killing it. She was carrying in moments when nobody else could get it together, because like Ryan had a rough stretch of games, but the person that held it down the most besides Alicia has been Cheyenne Parker, and that's why she's the all-star this year. Yeah.
And for me too, like, I don't know, I feel like our best games, it's when like our whole team's stepping up. Like our starters are obviously like the big three, Leash, Ryan, and Cheyenne. Like they're going to determine if we win or lose. But like just our depth and everything, like AD stepping up, Monique, me here, Nas, like it's just different people stepping up in moments when we need a basket and everything. That's crucial for us too. So yeah, and going back to earlier when we were talking about the schedule, like we played the most games against the Aces, Liberty, Sun, and Mystics out of any team in the league, and we went 3-5 in those games. And you said weathering the storm. We haven't even been able to play the storm yet, so I am looking forward to, like you said,
that's our schedule.
That is one heck of a shot right there, man. All right.
I had to mess with him. A little bit.
Hey, you guys have been throwing some shade both ways, but no, I mean, you guys have fared relatively well. I know with me early on in the season, the offense felt a little stagnant, especially in the half court. I feel like a lot of times where they got to a shot that they wanted, even if it wasn't necessarily the best shot, or if it was early in the shot clock, maybe forcing things a little early. I think a little bit more ball movement. What's kind of stuck out to me, Dallas early on was the number one team in pace. You guys now have like blown them out of the water since then as the number one team in pace. Do you like how that's working, getting up and running a little bit more? Do you worry about that in the postseason?
I'm not really worried about them. That's probably one of the best parts of the game for me, is when they get up and run. I think especially when they're getting creating turnovers on the other end, getting those live ball turnovers and creating points. That is my favorite part of the Atlanta Dreams game. That's one of my favorite parts of basketball, period. But that is like that's probably my favorite part.
Earlier in the season when we played with pace, it was just taking a quick shot, it felt like, rather than like having like fluid movement and everything. And like when we're on again, like 30 assists last game, I felt like we had our most fluid game, and like like our pace was really good. Like we were hard to keep up with, and just again, I think our offense depends on other people knocking down shots, so it does open up our star players having the space they need and everything to shine. And last night was so fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you guys have had some of your high moments. That little stretch where I think you guys were sitting at maybe 2-5. Does that sound
We
about
don't need
right?
to talk about that. Yeah. It sounds familiar. Maybe that was last season. I don't know, but yeah.
But no, from there you
Exactly.
take it, and I think it was New York and Connecticut. You go and you take care of business. And so for Atlanta, I mean, like I am pretty high on where this team can be. I believe in Tanisha Wright. That's gonna kind of lead me into the defense here, where um, liking what we're seeing more out of the offense since then. Still ninth in defensive rating. Where is this team's low point on defense? So where are they struggling, if at all?
And what's hard as an Amber, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but it's hard to like point out one thing in games and everything. Like there's times where it's like the offense, we're fluid and everything, and then other times like I believe we're still towards the lower in the league in turnovers and everything. Like there's just points where we don't communicate as well, and it just shows on both ends. And it's hard to just point out one thing, but like one thing that stands out in games where it's harder for us is like it feels like the 3-point line is just open game for teams sometimes, and that's really frustrating. And the games that we're losing and everything, it just I don't know. So I felt like last game, like we had that communication and everything, but it's just keeping it going. Yeah, I don't know. You got any more thoughts, Amber? On?
Yeah, because like I feel like at points of this season, we were, especially in games where we were down and we were getting eaten up on the perimeter. Like I feel like we had a tendency to chase the ball, which you know when you chase the ball, you never catch up with it. Especially good passing teams, it will always end in disaster. Somebody's gonna have an open shot. So I feel like mostly like just overall, the perimeter defense is probably like the weakest spot, which shouldn't be because you have great perimeter defenders. It has to be like a big communication breakdown. So yeah, that's where I've seen the most, you know, that's probably the weakest part. But other than that, I mean, we do have a lot of defensive potential with all the players that we have, because all the players that we have are great defenders. It's just locking in and playing team defense.
And you sparked the thought for me, Amber, like on defense. Sorry for the pun. Just I felt like we've had a couple games where Ryan and Leash have connected on offense, but last game felt like the first time like they were feeding off of each other on defense, like as far as the energy and everything and making big plays. So that was a lot of fun and everything. So if we keep that going, obviously they're going to be the ones guarding the perimeter and everything, so the primary defender. So when they're just both making plays off of each other, like the same way they are on offense, like it's going to get us closer to the team I know we can be. So, yeah.
And you love to hear that from your second year, arguably your best player and Ryan Howard, but like to kind of really start gelling, especially on the defensive end with Alicia Gray. That's really cool to hear. I was wondering like if maybe size down low could have been a problem. Obviously, you guys have dealt with injuries nonetheless, though, as you bring up the perimeter defense with Danielle Robinson, as well as Ari McDonald missing a lot of time throughout this season. So that's interesting to think about. So I just from the injury standpoint, how's this team doing right now? I know Aries still out.
Well,
like,
I mean,
you go.
I was about to say they look like they're doing. You know, with D-Rob coming back, it was a bigger boost than I thought it was gonna be.
Me too.
Because it was just like we were so locked in on like, oh, so what's wrong with this team? Like, what could be the turning point for us? And really, it was D-Rob coming back out there. D-Rob was a huge part of that. You know, I'm very interested to see how Aries is going to be integrated back into the in the rotation, because defensively, both of those players are like little gnats, especially Aries. Aries is a gnat on defense. So like she plays much bigger than her frame. Like she goes out and gets after it. So I'm wondering if that'll give us a little bit of more of a spark on defense.
Yeah, and just staying at the point guard position, I've actually liked, like, since Aries' injury, I've liked how Coach Wright has used Haley. Like, she was integral in that 3-game win streak, like the one involving Connecticut, New York, and Indiana. But I don't know, I was getting a little worried that, like, she had a game with 5 minutes, but, like, she's young. It was good she was able to soak things in, and she had another stellar game. I believe she had 4 assists, 0 turnovers. So, like, I don't know. I just liked seeing her game 2. She's definitely has a future in the W. I'm so glad she's a part of the dream. And then going to the front court that you brought first.
Yes.
I've liked our collective group. There have been times where we've been out rebounded and everything, but I don't think that has to do with size. It's just going back to that communication we were talking about and being in the right places and everything. I will say I am really excited about Rupert. I don't know how the minutes are going to be distributed because it's already been rough, depending on the game who's going to get minutes and stuff. But there was one game during the offseason when she was in Italy where she knocked down her first 12 shots, and 4 of them were 3-pointers, and it was incredible. Like, I don't think a lot of people have seen Rupert in the States, like, because she got limited minutes in Vegas, but she is a potential star, and, like, had over getting her back when he drafted her in the first round while he was in Vegas. Like, yeah, I think she's going to surprise some people in what she can bring and everything. And then another player I want to bring up really quick is a me here, like, getting more minutes as the season has gone along, and her athleticism is just through the roof. And Amber, you look like you're ready to talk on that. You can go.
Listen, we've been praying for LA minutes, and we are getting LA minutes. And it has changed the complexity of the game for the Atlanta Dream. That's all I'm gonna say on it. The fact that we're getting those minutes, she's going out there and playing so well. Like, this is all I've been praying for. So we're getting, like, that's a great sign. Like, when she plays, we usually have a great game. So that's a correlation, I think.
Hey, that's wonderful to hear. I was like, honestly, it was a great transition point. I wasn't gonna let it leave without touching on Ileana Rupert. I see a lot of excitement for her 6'4" center to come in. I'm intrigued to see what that looks like moving forward.
And another point on her, since we brought her back up, like, she played with Cheyenne this whole season in Italy and everything. Like, they have a good relationship. She talked about in the last presser, like, how excited Cheyenne was when Rupert told her that she got claimed and stuff. So they know how to play with each other, and yeah, it's just going to help our front court even more. Like, again, I don't know how the minutes breakdown is going to work. Like, some people are going to get their feelings hurt and stuff, and because I don't know, Amber's brought this up before. We have a lot of similar players that, like, have strengths and everything, but there hasn't been anybody, like, standing out in the pack and everything. So it's just going to be really interesting how Coach Wright divides those up. So yeah, but I like this roster, how we're starting to come together. It's just, we're in a stretch where we want to win games that we're supposed to, just like we did against LA, bringing it to Chicago and everything. So,
well, and
don't tell Sky Show this, but the Sky are a tier below the Dream, so we gotta win these. We gotta win the games we're supposed to. But anyway,
I love it. The shots, they're all here. No, okay. So much to touch on with this Atlanta Dream team, especially when you look at the depth behind that big three. And I like Ileana Rupert. I'm glad we touched on her, but you mentioned the other front court depth before we even touch on Haley Jones, where you've got Nia Coffey, who's, I think, playing around 21 minutes as a starter. And then Naz Hillman, you've got Cheyenne Parker, of course, Ileana Rupert stepping into that.
Monique Billings has played really well the last few games, so yeah.
And I'm probably forgetting more LA as it would LA qualify more as a
I would qualify. That's because of how we've used her. She can literally play.
That's what I think.
In the preseason, she was playing the one at a couple points and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking she was a 1 through 4 going into the season, but I honestly think she's a 1 through 5. She could play it and be comfortable. So
Yes.
yeah, she's
absolutely.
She's just a different breed altogether. Like she's incredible. What she's brought, but yeah.
So
Man,
and as Amber talked about, no, you're fine, but like I appreciate you guys so much. Amber talked about or has been talking about where none of them have really stood out. How have you felt about kind of the rotation and the minutes that have been handed out? I know LA, someone obviously, you want to get more minutes down there, but yeah, Amber, you can go ahead there, but
like I guess the minutes, I feel like nobody can really stand out with the way the minutes are distributed, honestly, because you have so much depth at that one position. Because even though I feel like Mia is more of a natural 3 to me, but it's not a lot of room there, so she has to flex a little bit. She's been playing really, really well, especially these last couple games. She's been knocking down some timely 3-pointers. Josh. And I mean, mobility stepped up, but like I feel like nobody has been able to like really like say that the floor is theirs. So it's kind of rough. I feel like that adds to the inconsistency that they've been having at the 4. But I feel like we're kind of weathering the storm a little bit with that. Hopefully, with throwing Repair in there, who knows how it'll change and who's gonna have to sacrifice minutes. But I mean, whatever works, or if there needs to be a trade, something's got to shake, because I don't know how they're gonna distribute that.
And Andrew, you brought it up earlier, like when your starting 4 is getting 21 minutes, like Amber was talking about, it's hard to establish yourselves and everything. Like, no matter how close-knit of a team you are, it has to be tough knowing you can be taken out by 4 different players at any given time and everything if you're not playing at your highest level. And even when you are playing at a high level, they gotta give those other players minutes and everything. So I agree. We talked about Amber and I have talked about this before. I would not be surprised if a trade comes at that position because of the depth that we have there. We could honestly use another scorer, I think, at guard. Like, if AD isn't clicking and everything, having someone else that can come in, that's a bet and everything potentially. So that there's room there to get like another 2 or 3. But especially since we're looking more and more like a playoff team to having that added depth. So, but I honestly wouldn't want to lose any of those players, so it would be really hard. Point guard is going to be really interesting as well with minutes once Ari returns, because I've liked how Haley's been playing. Like you mentioned, D-Rob's provided more of a spark than we thought. And then, Ari will be in there, and it's like, how are you going to divide the 40 minutes? I know they'll give some minutes at the 2, but Ryan and Leash are literally playing like 35 minutes a game. Like, man, it's just going to be really fascinating to see what happens.
And now
have our full roster.
You've got my brain churning over here, where I'm thinking about like you just mentioned the guard spot, and a guard who makes a lot of money to be packaged for a couple of players not currently playing. Probably isn't going to play this season, but someone who fits that profile is a Skylar Diggins-Smith. Is interesting to think about if you are Atlanta. Nonetheless, I think
let's talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely.
Like Amber and I have talked about that. Like we talked about a lot before the offseason, before the draft haul we got, and now we want the package they would have wanted before the season, but cap space is hard, and then also like Diggins-Smith can walk away. Like if she would have to agree to an extension for us to give Phoenix the package that they would want. Like obviously it would, I believe, involve Ari, because like she's a hero in Arizona and everything. So it involved her, like probably a draft pick, probably another one of our 4s. So yeah, I don't know about Amber, but I would not want to give up all of that if we're only going to get, at this point, a little more than a half a season of SDS. As good as she is, yeah, that would be really rough.
Me personally, I feel like you put your hat in the ringer in free agency and see what goes from there. Because honestly, to trade for her right now for like a half a season is crazy. I don't feel like any team should do it unless they have a surefire way of knowing that she's gonna be there next year. If they don't have the word, I would not pull the trigger on that trade. I would not give up assets. You put your hat in the ringer on February 1st,
and we're gonna have a decent amount of cap space still. So yeah, if we want to make that type of move. Someone that has not played this season though that I would be interested in is on the Aces. I brought her up before with Amber, but Raquana Williams with the Aces, like provide, like she hit 4 3-pointers in the finals, maybe even 5. I think it was 4. But in like that series clinching win for them to win the championship and everything, like she is cold. Like having that pure of a shooter would be really good. So, but yeah, there's a lot of different possibilities. But if the Fever are falling the way they are, maybe someone like Lexi Hall or something. But yeah,
interesting. Okay. Well, and even if they look to, they did a top draft pick and are able to draft one of those perimeter stars coming out of the NCAA ranks. And they say, hey, maybe we're going to try and move off the money of a Chelsea Mitchell. That's an interesting discussion to have, too, if you're Atlanta, in my opinion.
I don't think Amber wants that.
I'm not going to say that. But at this point, I mean, I would have to see. I have to crunch some numbers and see how I feel about it. But it wouldn't be my favorite. I must say, it wouldn't be my favorite.
And honestly, I take that back because you said she would be better in a situation where she's not depended on as the primary person. She would be having Kelsey Mitchell as your third best guard would be incredible for her. Like the look she would get and everything if they focus on Ryan and Leash. Yeah, she would not come off the bench, and that's a problem.
And she's not
how
a
we
point
would
guard.
configure that and everything. No, so Ryan would be our point guard or something. I don't know. So
that would be too tough.
It's a little tricky if we get another starting guard. So
hey, that makes me consider. I mean, you guys have had a lot of different players lead your team in scoring in each individual game, and a lot of different players lead in assists through each individual game. The read and react offense, I think, weighs really well into that. And from that point, I kind of jumped to, you mentioned all of the different forwards that you guys have and how the defensive potential on this team. Just to bring this full circle, I think maybe you can run a lineup that's so switchable with Ryan Howard, maybe running the 1 in those lineups. It could work on offense, and on defense might be just dynamite, depending on who's out there with Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray. LA would be a lot of fun to see in that lineup. A few different players could fit into that framework. But
I can see where your mind's going.
I'm a big fan of those switchable defenses, Amber. I'm a big fan. And
yes, I love it too.
I think Atlanta's finding some space. I do agree, though, that a consolidation trade might be on the forefront. But I just getting back into this season, we kind of touched on the rotation might be getting a little heavy down at the forward spot. You need to get healthy at the guard spot with Ari coming back. But I mean, I think you guys have just been privileged to watch the Big Three. And I think in my opinion, that starts with Cheyenne Parker. So I'm gonna ask you guys if she is Atlanta's best player this year.
Man, you know what?
I think Leash to me has been consistent from the beginning to the end. Like when we've needed a bucket, like she goes and gets it. Like when the rest of the team's struggling, Cheyenne's been good, but she's had some games where like the offense hasn't been there and everything. Leash, like I can literally not name one game where she wasn't making a profound impact for this team and everything, in my opinion. So
I
I honestly think she should have been a starter for the All-Star game, like the way she's been playing, but I'll take her getting her first appearance and everything. But the best player right now is Ryan Howard. She just dropped 43 points. Knocked down 5 3-pointers
on the Jelly Bean
last game. Like, yeah. We had a Jelly Bean game where anytime the Dream hit a 3, I had to have a spicy jelly bean, and yeah, it was rough. It was rough.
His ears literally released steam, but it was hilarious.
That had to be so enjoyable for Amber and Amber alone.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. Well, not just me. You know, everybody else watching them play back as well.
That's true. I'm just saying between the two of you.
Yes, between the two of us, absolutely. But as far as Cheyenne Parker being the best player, I feel like at times she has been. Because a lot of those games early in the season when, you know, Ryan wasn't having great games to start the season, she was the one that was carrying. Like, she was dropping like 25 here, she was dropping 20 here.
She was.
She was getting doubles. Like, she was playing monster defense as well. So I mean, she's had a few games where she slacked up a little bit, but like, I could say, like, at times she has been our best player. I will say that. And you
could say that for any of the three, definitely.
Yeah.
Any of the three, really. Yes.
Cheyenne came up, like, when we were having that, like, cold spurt at the beginning of the third. Like, she got some major buckets to
She came up big.
Start that run and everything. Like, she made some nice moves yesterday. So, yeah. She deserves to be in the All-Star game, and, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm very proud of that. Because, she's been one of the best. So yeah,
definitely.
I think I was gonna say that's just kind of a great thing to have when you've got 3 really good players, and any one of them at any given moment can step up and be that number 1 option. And you like to see how the chemistry between an Alicia Gray and a Ryan Howard is improving, and how Chelsea Gray stepping up when maybe one of the other players doesn't have it going. So that's a good thing to have going on if you are Atlanta. I think kind of the next point, as you mentioned, Cheyenne Parker, very worthy All-Star. What were the instant reactions when Ryan Howard is not an All-Star?
She dropped 43 points. That was the reaction.
That was the reaction. That's all the reaction we needed to have. But like, honestly, when the news first dropped, I was really, I felt like they would do that only because, like,
I did too.
She hadn't been consistent enough. And that's the thing, like, there were times where I feel like she kind of like deferred a little bit too much earlier in the season. And she didn't have those monster games that she's having now. So I felt like they would kind of play around a little bit and not give it to her. And they did, and she responded very, very poignantly. And I'm very excited about the rest of the season because now she's mad. So if that's all it took for her to drop 43, listen, I understand. But I still felt like with the numbers that she put up, she still, like, her numbers have been comparable with a lot of the players that have made the All-Star game. Not saying any names, but I mean, they've been comparable, if not better. So I feel like if they're gonna give it to some of these other players, that why not give it to Ryan?
Yeah, like, Ryan was just forcing the jump shot a little bit, it felt like, and then they started getting her more like set plays where she's able to go into the paint. Like, I don't think she was purposely, like, primarily taking threes, even though she likes doing that. It's just there wasn't that space for her. Like, it wasn't an initiative, it felt like, at the beginning of the season to give her those opportunities to drive and get to the free throw line as much as she has. And then her being able to be that threat to drive opened up last game where, like, the Sparks had to respect her being able to drive to the paint as well. So it gives her a little more room to knock down threes. And she knocked down 5 yesterday, and literally all her field goal attempts were 3-pointers yesterday, excluding the foul that she got and stuff. Like, it's incredible. Like, it's just incredible. So I don't know. We have a lot of talent, but man, an angry Ryan Howard just might be the best player the rest of the way. Like, I hated it for Ryan that she didn't make the All-Star, but I honestly liked it for Dream fans because this is like an energy that's going to carry over all the way to when we get to the playoffs, honestly. Like, man, because she's going to be proving a point over and over and over. And we talked about in our last pod episode, we really think Ryan could enter MVP combo if she keeps playing the way she does and everything. Like, maybe becomes the first player to win MVP and not be called to the All-Star game earlier that season. So, but
well, yeah. And if there was any season for that to happen, I mean, you talked about this one where the All-Stars were decided so soon. I mean, we had the fan voting so early. I felt like
early.
And a 40-game season as well. So a little bit longer than normal, as so a lower percentage of the season had been played too. But I mean, yeah, I'm gonna be honest with both of you. Ryan Howard was not on my All-Star ballot.
Not everybody has the right opinion. You weren't the only one and stuff, so it's okay. It's okay.
She and Sabrina Ionescu were my last two out. And I missed on. I had Natasha Howard. I voted her in, and she didn't make it. So
wrong Howard.
Ron Howard.
I'll stop.
No, I think like kind of a slow start for Ryan Howard to start the season. I couldn't go with that 38% from the field, 36% from three at the time of I think the reserves being announced. So I mean, she bumped up that points per game average by a large amount after just one game in that outburst. So I think sophomore year, she is probably right on track with where you want her to be. Ryan Howard is incredible. I'm with you on probably overall the Sparks best player. I said the Sparks, excuse me, the Dreams best player. But to this point, I would go with Cheyenne Parker personally. Like I said, great problem to have when you're just not quite sure.
I won't argue with anybody if you name one of those three because they're all monster players. So yeah.
And that has got me excited to look for Ileana Rupert playing with Cheyenne Parker and all of the different lineups on defense to look out for. And we haven't even touched enough on Haley Jones, who I told you guys I was just super high on.
Oh my god!
Heading into the year.
Me too.
Amber, you want to touch on Haley's rookie year?
Man, it's been up and down, but mostly up because she has really, like, for her to come in and be thrown into the situation where she has to go ahead and be the starter, like, almost right away and actually go out there and kill it. Basketball IQ off the charts. Like, she's a big matchup problem. She knows how to play her role, man. She's been going out and getting buckets. Like, the rookies have been probably my best, like my favorite part of the season.
I love that.
Them stepping into it, them stepping into the roles that they've been given and killing it has been. I'm like, oh, the future is so bright. I love it.
Man, SpongeBob has just been imprinted into my mind because when you said future, I thought about it.
Yeah. Future.
But
no references. No references like SpongeBob references. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, and like Amber talked about, like she really was thrust into it. D-Rob had the injury in the first game, then Aerie. Like we did not have another point guard to go to, and like I don't know, like I think we got to see like a major part of her potential because she didn't have too much time to think about what was going on, and I think that's what happened later on. Like she was starting to try to replicate what she had done already too much and everything, but in that like Sun Liberty back-to-back wins, like one game she had nearly a double-double of points and rebounds, and then the next game had it with points and assists almost. Like that's almost unheard of. Like it's just incredible the level that she can play at, and I'm just so excited. Like she's another player that is a matchup problem on the glass for us. Like when she's playing the point guard and everything, because a lot of points in this league are smaller, and yeah, Haley's gonna win those every time. So
you've
got to love that jump shot moving like more consistently. Then yeah. we're in excellent shape with her.
That versatility, the potential of a Haley Jones, her ability as a playmaker too. I mean, just so high on what she can be, especially at that point guard spot, like you said, with kind of a mismatch there. So excited to see where that goes for this Atlanta Dream team. Before we kind of ended off on a higher note, I do want to ask you, do you have any concerns still at this point in the Atlanta Dream season? Do you think this team style has any holes? I know we talked about a potential consolidation trade down at the forward spot. Turnovers maybe being an issue. Passing, I know they're ninth in assist percentage and turnover percentage. What do you think in terms of that?
I'll start.
The turnovers. Go ahead.
Start.
Oh, no. You sure?
Okay. So I think Coach Wright has brought up a lot of times, like consistency is the big thing for me. Like I want to see this high level of play for a larger stretch of games. I don't want to have like a 3-game win streak and then a 3-game losing streak. I want to continue being the team I know we can be. Like I want home court advantage. I really do. I know we can get it. Like the top 3 seeds seem like pretty cemented and everything, but I think we have an opportunity to get that 4th spot and everything. So yeah, I don't know. That's my biggest thing. Just not having those dulls and everything, never falling behind by 19 again this season. That happened already too much. So yeah, consistency. What about you, Amber?
Yeah, consistency, and they have to the turnovers have been,
hurts your defense
they haven't
too.
been my favorite. Yeah, the defense has to step up. But I mean, I feel like we're in a good spot, honestly, at this point, because we're hitting our stride at the same time. The worst part of it is that somebody's not gonna get the minutes. Like the lineups are gonna be, we still gonna have to stabilize those. I feel like that's gonna be, but it's kind of a good problem to have though at the same time, because you have so many talented players that can plug in wherever you really need them. So, I mean, I feel like that's a good problem to have. But other than that, I mean, the defense, as long as it stays tight, we're not letting everybody just have 3-point records on us, and people dropping 40 on us, I think we'll be okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. On the higher note, what are you liking from the season? Any stats standing out to you? What are the vibes like? I know you guys are both feeling good with where you're at, 5th in the standings at the point of recording.
Again, I just want to go back to the level of competition we played and stuff, and being in 5th place right now. If we can take advantage of games that we're supposed to win, this can be a really special season. I just want us to have that consistency, because we almost lost the game to the Lynx. We lost the game to the Fever. I want to have that consistency and just everybody know that we are a top 5 team. It's not even up for debate with what we bring to the court every night and everything. So that's what I'm wanting. I want what we did against the Sparks last night, at least close to it every season, where there's a minor drought, but yeah, there's never really fully doubt that we're going to win a game and everything. What about you, Amber?
To me, just keeping our foot on the gas. If we can keep our foot on the gas and play full 40 minutes every single time, I feel like we are going to be absolutely fine. We have so much potential to because it's gonna be a lot of teams that we still haven't played more than one game against. That I mean, it's gonna be pretty rough. We still have to play the Aces again, and everybody, they've been giving their matchup hell, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I can see a good, we played a full 40 minutes in that first game, so it's okay, if we can play a full 40 minutes and all lock in together and get it, I mean, who can't we beat?
Because we almost came back in that Aces game when we pulled a dud in the first half. Yeah.
We laid an egg. It was awful. And then all of a sudden, they turned it on and we were within 2. So if they can play a full 40 minutes, man, they're gonna be hell.
I liked it. The two words you guys point out, consistency and potential. And so for this Atlanta Dream squad, can they find the dream of where they want to be? I liked it over there. You two, Joshua, Amber, thank you guys so much for joining a pro basketball show. Seriously.
Thanks for having us on again, and hopefully we'll talk again when we're fourth seed in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Hey, I love the confidence. Amber, you got any last words there?
Man, first off, thanks for having us again. Yeah. Like, we have so much fun doing stuff like this. But yeah, man, I feel I have all the confidence in the world that the Dream are gonna kill it the whole rest of the season. I had them top 4, so I feel like that's what we should be shooting for. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
MVP. Let's go.
I love it. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, make sure to follow and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Make sure to follow on Twitter and Instagram at APBShow, and follow me at the AC Willett 22. Thank you so much for tuning in for a pro basketball show. I am Andrew Willett.